Hey guys, what's going on? Alright, so YouTube apparently broke their own website purposely. You can no longer filter results. Like when you search for something, you want to see the most updated thing, you put, you know, view by the most recent or whatever. So, you know, they've been trying to silence all of us. And they'll keep getting their way because they have the money and we don't, but what can you do? I mean, I share my links on Gab, all my videos are on BitChute and everything, so if you want to follow me there, I would recommend doing that. I'm obviously not going to make a public comment about whatever happened over there a half a world away, because whatever. But there's a lot of things that I question, and what I've always said, what I've said for a long time, is anything that gets wall-to-wall coverage on all mainstream media platforms for over 1 hour, especially for days, is what I consider globalist sponsored events. We'll just call them that. And because here's the thing, there was a school shooting in Brazil. Children died. It was at a school. They didn't just use a gun, he used a revolver and a speed loader. So it was, I think, a 6-shooter, and he used a speed loader, but he also used a crossbow and an axe and knives. But most people don't even know that happened. So, you know, that makes me question things, obviously. And then, of course, there was a Christian church that was bombed or whatever. I think 150 Christians died this week. Most people don't know about that. But the thing is, violence to violence is what they want. Don't give that to them. It makes no sense. It's nonsensical. I've always tried to not censor myself, and I will continue doing that. I mean, I only make like 20 bucks a week on YouTube, so, you know, how much really do I have to lose? There's people that have lost a lot more for speaking out, like people like Schaefer Cox, that is sitting in a maximum supermax prison for a crime he didn't commit. It wasn't even a crime. It was just some made up stuff that he could. It was essentially thought crime. He's been there for 8 years. He was a state senator in Alaska, I believe. It's a very sad story. You need to look into that. freeschaefercox.com, I believe it is. And that's what worries me. People that speak out about that, if you can read it. I hope it's not backwards. Apparently that's a trigger word, so I'll just let you read it. I want to ask you something. Would you rather be rich and a slave, or poor and free? Most people would probably say free. But for how long? You probably wouldn't, because you've been so programmed into our day-to-day life that we have. When there are ways to peacefully bring back the constitutional way of how things are supposed to be. But people don't fight for that. They keep fighting over who's going to be the next talking head in DC, when they all work for the same people. R, D, it's all the same thing. It has become the same thing. Well, it started out the same thing, and now it again is the same thing. And there's no reason for that. DC was never meant to have this much power, ever. The states are supposed to have the power, and DC is supposed to be essentially an administrative position for foreign dealings. They have limited power, and our states have the power. And that's what we need to be focusing on. We need to make the people in DC not legitimate. You know, Stop talking about them. Why even discuss them? Both parties have an agenda. And of course there's more parties, but because of the way that things go and the mindset that people get into, that it's only this or only that, you know, that's a logical fallacy. Because like even during the 2016 election, we had 4 choices on the ballot, but the way that we've been programmed, oh my gosh, no, we can't vote for a third candidate. Who gives a crap about DC? The states have rights. We have state senators, we have governors, we have a state Supreme Court. There is no reason to have it in DC as well, especially when they're going to rip out pages of our state constitutions. There are only, you know, certain powers that the federal government is supposed to have. And there's reasons that our founding fathers wrote the Constitution the way that they did. Because they knew. They lived it. They lived the way that, you know, an empire turns into too powerful. And so that's why they wrote things like the 10th Amendment, the 9th and 10th Amendments into our Constitution. And the 2nd. Especially the 2nd. But people don't look at it that way. They need to. How many of you can say that you have read the Constitution? The entire thing. I can say that I didn't until pretty recently. That's pretty sad, because I even taught the Constitution when I was teaching 4th grade, although I feel that that might be a little soon to teach it. But now I see why they don't teach it in school. Because there's a lot of stuff in there that they don't want you to know about. They don't want you to realize that, whoa, wait, we actually do have power. We don't need this every 4 to 8 years. Force my beliefs on you, force my beliefs on you, then we get mad and we're going to put our guy in, and it just goes back every 4 to 8 years when they're all just working for the lobbyists anyway. So the thing is, states' rights, starting it in your local area, starting with your mayors, your local committees and city committees and all of this, that's where you need to start. You can't start from the bottom and work down. That's nonsensical, you know. And fallen into. We've all, you know, we continue doing it. We keep falling into it. Oh, well, if we get this guy in, it's all going to be different. No one person, no 5 people, no 10 people can change what DC has become. It's going to have to be a grassroots, bottom-up situation. Everything always has to be. Nothing that is imposed on the people is ever going to be successful. And that's another reason that I've been so adamant about Venezuela. They're actually showing us the way. Whether you believe in what they stand for or not, I can pretty much guarantee every single one of you that's watching are essentially socialist. And you're about to click off. Oh my God. I don't think you understand what it means, but every single prepper is socialist. You are prepping for the greater good of your group, of your community, of your family, extended family. You know that you need a nurse from this part. You need a person that's good at scouting, a person that's good at hunting, a person that's good at whatever. And then everybody's going to share in that wealth. Although that nurse doesn't go out and hunt, you're going to share the food with her, right? I worked in the ER for years, so, you know, as a nurse. But people don't look at it that way. Another way that it's pretty funny is the military is like the biggest socialist experiment ever. People say it's Venezuela. That's crazy. Our military is the biggest socialist experiment ever. We all wear the same uniform. We all march the same way. We all say the same things. The only thing that's different when you get into boot camp is your name on your uniform. Everything else is the same. It's all about the mission. It's all about the group. Everybody has the same, you go grocery shopping at the same place, the same hospital. housing. I mean, everything. Your paycheck. Now, am I saying that everybody should get paid the same amount for everything? No, I'm not. But I find it funny that military people say, oh my God, socialism is terrible. When really they, you know, we were all in a big socialist experiment. That's what we are. And you know what? We got along with people that we probably never would have before in a different scenario. You wouldn't make it through a certain situation without your battle buddy or whatever. You know, I was on a ship with people from many countries. It wasn't just people from here. I mean, they were citizens, some of them, or they had visas or whatever the case may be. But you learn to get along for the greater good. And I think that most people, I could say that pretty much everybody I know would agree with that. You know, you would agree with if you knew that your neighbor was going to go hungry, your neighbor has kids and your refrigerator is full and you're in the middle of a blackout and they don't have anything and you know that. I think most people I know is going to go bring them food and not ask for $1 back. Because, you know, I don't understand how Christians say that they're anything but that. And that's what I don't understand about this crony capitalism that people have fallen into. Without taking a step back and actually looking at it. Because, you know, I thought the same thing. I was brainwashed very early on into thinking that what socialism meant was essentially what the military was, you know. But no, you know, I was taught that doctors made the same amount as a waitress, you know, like to the extreme. Like that's what I was taught. I don't know if it was in school or it must have been. I don't know where I learned it. Because I remember as a small child believing that. Oh my God, they all get paid the same amount, even if this doctor went to school for 8 years, you know, whatever. It makes no sense. But that's not what it is. And I'm not advocating for socialism or whatever. What I'm saying is people need to take a step back and actually look at what you're fighting for and against, and how you're being brainwashed to fight for something that you probably don't even really support when you break it down. That's how they get all these corporate subsidies out from under us and everything. It's really insane here in Louisiana how much corporate subsidies, corporate welfare is given out. It's disgusting, actually. We're one of the richest states, but yet the poorest. It's insane. Let me give you one example, but this example happens a lot. We have this thing called ITEP. I think they have it in many states, but ours is really extreme. It's pretty much rubber stamped approved for everybody. Well, it has been until people started speaking up just recently. So a company, especially like oil and gas or big corporations, Walmarts and things like that, they get tax deferred or whatever for like 10 years. So they don't have to pay property tax or other certain taxes or whatever for like their first 10 years in business. But this is the catch. What they do is they go and change their name or sell it to their brother, their cousin, or whoever. Like PPG is now Axel. And so PPG got the ITEP. Now they changed their name and now Axial gets the ITEP. Why? They didn't have to rebuild a facility. They didn't employ anybody else. It's all the same workers. Maybe they got a couple different CEOs or something. But they're getting millions of dollars of tax deferral because they changed their name. And that happens so much. So much. I mean, and that's why it's funny that people, that's why I think the whole AOC thing is, she's very much some type of puppet of actor or something, because it was a good thing that what she did with Amazon. I wouldn't want Amazon in my town. I absolutely would not. You need to look into it if you do. Look at what's going on in Seattle. They have the lowest unemployment rate and one of the highest homeless rates, because they're employed. They're going to work every day and have no home because of how much the prices have gone up on homes there. San Francisco, the same thing. You know, I've been to San Francisco for Fleet Week, and I couldn't believe all the people that would come into the town. They would all come on the barge, the ship or whatever. None of them that worked there lived there. You know, San Francisco is pretty small anyway. It's only like 7 square miles. But you couldn't afford to live there. So the people that work there, you know, they came from other areas, sometimes like an hour or two away. And that's what people don't understand. When big businesses come in like that, they jack up all the prices of everything, and you can't even afford to live there. It's ridiculous. I'm not going to get into all that. I'll do a separate video on corporate welfare. I've been preparing to do that one. I have so much to talk about on that one, but all of this stuff happened. I know this was a rambly video, but I just wanted, you know, my main message is stop listening to the words coming from the mainstream or even from government officials, and actually read. Look into what you're actually fighting for or think that you support. Because you might be shocked. You will be shocked. I couldn't believe it. I was, what? Wait, what did I vote for? What? That's terrible. What did I do that for? I just screwed myself. You know, like, and people are so hard-headed. I am too. They just can't, like, look at another article. I don't even use Google as much as possible. I try not to use Google because they get you into that echo chamber. They want you to stay in that echo chamber. If you are a conservative Republican, they're going to show you articles that agree with your ideology. That's part of their algorithm. And it's not just politically, but things that they think that you're going to want to see, that's what they're going to put in your search results. And that's dangerous. It's very dangerous. It puts you in an echo chamber on either side. And that's another thing. You need to reach out to other people. Instead of just, I read these comments all the time and it drives me crazy. People don't try to talk to other people and say, well, why do you feel that way? They just go berserk on them and say, it's you because you're a effing white this, you're a effing black, you know, like just going off on people. That's not going to turn anybody's mind around at all. It's going to push them further away. Silencing people is even worse. Because then you're pushing them underground or you're making them into a powder keg of sorts. So just because you get offended by something or you don't agree with somebody, calling them snowflake liberal, socialist, idiot, you know, using all these ad hominem attacks is useless. Reach out to them. Say, you know, I think that you might have it confused, or even say, why do you feel that way? You know, and have actual dialect with them. Don't just call them names and don't say it's just the left, because I have a whole album of screenshots of people on the right calling me the most horrific things just because I say one thing that they don't agree with. So everybody needs to, everybody's feeding into their behavior modification. You're essentially letting them win. Everything that they do is a big human experiment. They look at it, they study it, they see how the reaction, what reactions they get. And there's some things that I'm working on that is going to upset a certain community of people, but it needs to be said. And it's not to go against them, it's just stuff that they need to know about. It's the gaming community. I won't talk about that because it's already going to get people, oh my god. It's not blaming any one thing. It's a discussion about what's actually going on behind the scenes. But anyway, I don't advocate violence for anybody. That makes no sense. And being angry and bitter about things is not going to get you anywhere. But outthinking your opponent will. And you can't do that by watching mainstream media or reading any mainstream. You need to read both sides. You need to read what you don't agree with. You need to. Otherwise, you yourself are in an echo chamber. But, sorry that was so rambly. I just wanted to talk about that because, I mean, YouTube has just gone off the rails. I don't even know what's going to go on with my channel. I do have a backup channel. It's in my description. Links in my description. And if you'd like to support my channel, obviously, please do. That's why I haven't been doing as many videos. I mean, it's hard, y'all. It really is hard. But I will keep talking as long as I can. and I'm going to start working in my own community. I was thinking about running for governor, but I think the deadline's already up. So, I don't know. We'll see. Y'all have a great day.